Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to a brand new edition of Late Night Lake Show's Fast Break. It is an all-new YouTube series featuring myself and our new co-host, the one, the only, the Lakers Centrals, Alex. Alex, how you doing today, Brody?
I'm good, man. Appreciate being back. I'm loving it.
Absolutely, man. Alex and I have done plenty of work together, whether on Lakers Central, Late Night Lake Show, or even on some of our older shows together, like NBA Weekly. That was a fun one we had for a hot minute. But really, what we're trying to do now is bringing our Lakers fandom into some bite-sized, digestible conversations. A lot of news happens throughout the NBA week, and though we can't get to it all on the podcast that we record weekly, we are going to use YouTube and get these conversations out in front of the people as quickly as possible. Our first topic this episode is none other than Anthony Marshawn Davis Jr. After a performance like that against the Golden State Warriors in a preseason that he's having, it's only right to start with the Lakers big fella. So we here for a good time, not a long time. Alex, you ready to get into it, man?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Let's get it. We're going to start our LNLS Fast Break series with our Anthony Davis focus. Last night, he gave us a little bit of everything you could ask for out of a superstar, knocking down threes inside post game, a little ball handling for you, a little playmaking for you. And then, at the end of the day, he took care of business on the defensive end. And today, we're going to start off with a pretty simple question. Alex, from what you've seen so far of AD this preseason, what has excited you the most?
I mean, look, his inside-outside game seems to have returned. I mean, last year, despite what a lot of people think, he was extremely effective inside when he actually played last year, right? And then bubble AD, I mean, he was hitting shots all over the place. But I think last year we just saw him rely a little too much on his jumper at times. This preseason, we've seen him roll to the basket. We've seen him hit mid-range. We've seen him hit threes. His shot mechanics look much improved. And so I'm just happy that he's playing inside and outside because I think that he's probably the most versatile big man in the NBA. No disrespect to Giannis or Jokic or any of those guys, but I think just from a do-it-all perspective, everywhere on the court, I think he can do it all. So I'm glad to see him playing inside and outside, not over-relying on one aspect of his game.
You don't know how many times I've yelled at my TV last season, watch AD put up a contested jumper, feed away from the post and feed inside the three-point line. And it was frustrating. I think all Lakers fans were just aggravated in seeing our star big man play, as a shooting guard for the majority of the season. And there were reasons for that we'll get into in a couple of topics here. But I think for me, the one thing that stood out for me or to me with Anthony Davis is that man's touch at the free throw line looks like it has returned. AD last night over the Warriors went 8 for 8 from the free throw line. And, y'all that go to black churches, we get to the time where, the pastor really be in his sermon and you see Auntie Geraldine all of a sudden get up from a pulpit and do a couple of praise dances and shouting. That was me last night watching AD knock down them free throws, man. We went from Anthony Davis as at his peak an 85% free throw shooter to watching him drop down to the low 70s the past 2 seasons. His worst season of his career being just last year at 71%. He still averaged 23 points a game, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. If he just becomes an average free throw shooter as far as his standards, get a little bit back to the mean, that's a 25, 26 point a game season. And, even with all the injuries and frustrations, you would still look at the stats and be like, well, Anthony Davis kind of still put up his numbers last year. But it's that signs of watching a guy who's supposed to be our unicorn, right? Not just the defensive monster, but also being able to take the ball and push it outside. You're going to get fouled. You got to knock down your free throws, AD. So the way he was shooting was really encouraging. And, we're just going to keep praying our rosaries. Just health and wealth and free throw shooting is all that we ask for, AD. So topic number 2, let's just jump right into it. We saw Anthony Davis, and it has been a topic of discussion since he's been a Los Angeles Laker. Where does he fit in the starting lineup? Is Anthony Davis better off as a 4 or a 5? You ask AD, probably a 4. You ask some Lakers fans and some Lakers coaches of the past, they probably like to see the big man a little bit at 5. We have seen, Alex, for the last 2 games, Anthony Davis did miss one game due to a lower back tightness in which he was supposed to be the small ball 5 for the Lakers. He's been next to Damian Jones for the other 2 games, sharing that 4 spot. And we've seen a lot of good signs from him and Jones together. But I just got to wonder, man, with all of the guard-heavy lineups we've seen out of the Lakers so far, and knowing that Anthony Davis is still going to get a bulk of minutes with those second units, do you really see AD's biggest impact on this roster as a 4 or a 5?
He's a 4, man. He can play both. But if Anthony Davis wants to play the 4, who am I from my couch or my Twitter account to say he should play the 5? You know what I'm saying? Like, he wants to be the 4, he needs to be the 4. Where the Lakers are at this point is they've got a bunch of really, really good guards, and then their center rotation does not look very good at all, right? So I think for the Lakers to maximize Anthony Davis this season, one, they probably need to find another quality backup power forward, a guy that could probably spell some starter minutes. But then they just need to bring in a more qualified center. I mean, Thomas Bryant has had one good game, I believe, against Minnesota, and that was against Gobert. He's a good center, so that was good to see Thomas Bryant show out. But other than that, he's been, I don't know, marginal the rest of the preseason. Damian Jones does not look good. I mean, where do they go, Jay Huff? Like, where do you go at this point if AD is going to play the 4 if your center rotation is lacking? So, I don't know, man. He's a 4. They just, you and I talked about it off air. There's potentially a 5 out there that the Lakers could go calling on. But what do you think, 4 or 5?
I agree with you. I think Anthony Davis is most effective when he's allowed to not be the primary center. I think he's able to switch off and guard essentially 1 through 5 when he really needs to. But if that's the case and AD is your 5 and he's out on the perimeter, trying to lock up a guard that he was switched onto, what's going on in the post where it's not about to be ugly, right? Mm-hmm. So I think from just a defensive mindset, and we see it in Ham's philosophy, first of all, the Lakers look like they're going to be a very competent defensive basketball team if they can stay healthy, mainly if Anthony Davis can stay healthy, right? And if they are able to extract and, impose Ham's vision of how they want to be a lockdown defensive team, someone else might be needing to get a few of those rebounds down in the post. Someone else might need to block a few shots while AD is, wrecking havoc and blowing up screens on the perimeter. So I agree with you, but at the same time, like you just said, it's gonna, Lakers need to kind of shore up those big man positions. TB, I have a soft spot in my heart for Thomas Bryant, but at the end of the day, the Lakers' most effective big man so far has been Wenyen Gabriel, and he's more of an athletic 4 that you're probably not going to put next to AD to say, now you go be the 5, my brother. So
let me ask you, I completely off topic, but like, does anyone expect Giannis to play the 5? Because he's AD's best comp, right? Like that's his comp in the NBA. Is there any expectation for Giannis to play the 5?
No, none at all. I mean, in very short stints, they might do it. You see a Golden State, and even Golden State starting to get bigger. And I hope folks are starting to recognize that the term small ball is not necessarily what you might envision 3, 4, 5 years ago. Folks are starting to come back and put 2 6'10" plus players on the court together, and knowing that, hey, one probably can knock down a 3 or can guard perimeter players, and the other one's a defensive monster. And you look at Giannis, he does both of those things when asked upon. But at the same time, you don't see Mike Budenholzer and the Darvin Ham coaching staff back in years prior having Giannis as the 5-man for protection, I'm sure, and just for overall, impact and getting him out in transition. It's hard when you're getting every rebound.
Lakers, they've got to show up that big man rotation. Anthony Davis is all world, but so far it's only preseason. But man, that center rotation does not look very good.
Got to shore it up. All right. Topic 3. I need like some juju beads. I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to mess it up, Alex. So I'm just going to ask the question. Is Anthony Davis's jumper back?
I think that it is, man. I mean, I watched a clip that you sent me that I think Mike Trudell was interviewing him and asked him about the wrist injury last year, and he says he's 100%, right? So in the preseason, his jumper has looked good. His first season with the Lakers, his jumper looked good. I am of the belief that one of the reasons his jumper didn't look good last year is because he put on that extra weight to bang in the post, and that extra weight probably changed his jumping mechanics, his jump shot a little bit. But he slimmed down a bit. So far in preseason, his free throws are falling, his three-pointers falling, his mid-range is falling. If all three are falling, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think it's back.
I pray so. You just the connection in his in the free throws to shooting touch is evident, right? And I think they all go hand in hand, no pun intended. But seeing that Anthony Davis's wrist is still wrapped, though, I noticed that in the highlights. He does still have it wrapped up lightly. So we want to proceed with caution on that because, like we all know, and everybody that's played basketball before, you're just one fall away, really, from jacking up your wrist if you catch your fall, right? So
maybe he hurt himself playing Call of Duty or something, man.
Hey, man,
he's a gamer. He's a gamer.
If you rage quit, there is no safe place or safe part that is, not eligible to be hurt. So I think, AD and just continuing for him to see the ball go through the hoop. He was 2 for 4 from 3 yesterday, but those 2 trailer threes in rhythm looked good. And looked like he knew that, oh, yeah, I need these. So, I will be cautiously optimistic, but I've also been someone that's been, ringing the bell of I need to see more 80 lobs this season because I was deprived of that last season. So as long as he could use that jumper as his, opening the door for just blowing past defenders, I'm all good. Just don't fall all the way in love with it, Anthony. I beg of you.
He'll get more clean looks at more clean jumpers and threes if he's going to the basket. If he's going to the basket and scoring, that'll open everything else up for him. So I like what I'm seeing, man. I'm hoping it's real. I'm going to believe that it's real.
There we go. Topic 4. Can the Lakers team defense be good enough to not just rely on AD being AD to actually be successful? How do the Lakers utilize that weapon that they have in Anthony Davis without getting my man into foul trouble in the first half?
I mean, that was one of the issues the last couple of seasons when he was actually on the floor. Like when the Lakers got rid of, KCP and Kuz and Caruso, Danny Green, all these guys that played defense, all of a sudden the Lakers guards that they did have were getting blown by. And Anthony Davis was forced to step over and try to help and all that kind of stuff. I think that was asking too much of him. I mean, he was the end-all, be-all for their defense the last couple of years. But this year, I like what Ham is doing with the rotation guys and with the bench guys. You guys like Juan Toscano-Anderson, they're diving on the floor. They're trying. I think defense has as much to do with hustle and trying as it does actual ability. So I think from a team defensive perspective, I think it's there. I don't think they need to rely on him to be Defensive Player of the Year, Anthony Davis. If he gets it, wonderful. Although I don't think he can get it because he's a Laker and there's politics against Lakers players getting awards. But I actually think by the team defense being better and taking a little bit off of Anthony Davis's plate, we will see a better defensive player in him.
Agreed. You want to, you just can't keep pressing the detonator button saying, save us, bomb, bomb, bomb. AD's foul troubles in the past year, like you just said, was a direct result of too many folks getting into the paint. And when you have traffic cones out there at the perimeter, you're really, really relying on your big men. It's kind of why Utah didn't work out with Rudy Gobert, is because they couldn't guard a soul on the perimeter. And yeah, he was the defensive player of the year 19 million times. That's why they couldn't get very far in the playoffs. But I'm just saying, hey, good luck in Minnesota with those lockdown perimeter defenders too. D'Angelo Russell's really gonna help out Rudy. Anyways, AD just he needs guys like Austin Reeves, Patrick Beverly, LeBron James, right, to at least bother their defenders. Make it so it gets to the point where when they get into the post, they're not a full head of steam. They are either shot clock's running down. Now they're trying to figure out what improvising move they could do to get this shot off. And that's why we saw yesterday in the Golden State game, Anthony Davis was swatting a lot of basketballs. It's because there were a lot of desperation shots, that the offensive player weren't comfortable in taking. So we love them barbecue chicken blocks, AD. We just pray that as Ham continues to build his vision of the roster and the starters, that players are around him constantly that complements his skill set and doesn't heavily rely on him. Also, it'd be nice if the Lakers had another big man back there that was just as, had as much notoriety as being a defensive shot blocker or shot deterrer. Miles Turner, but I digress.
I mean, I'd love to see Miles Turner, but I know we'll talk about that at another point. One of the things I'll point out too about Anthony Davis, the fewer amount of times that he has to, slide over and contest a layup or a dunk because somebody has blown past one of the guards, that's one less time he may not get hurt. May not step on somebody's foot or somebody step on his leg and bang him up. Like, that should be taken into account when we talk about, what the guards are doing and how they are as defensive players. Stay in front of your man. Don't let every daggone guard in the league blow by you, because all that does is open Anthony Davis up for potential fall or something like that. And then here we go again, like the last couple seasons. So
that's a great point. Protect the man by guarding your defender. We beg of thee. All right, Alex, let's get out of here. We're going to finish up all of our shows with a hot take on the topic that we have at hand. Our first episode is Anthony Marshawn Davis Jr., the pride and joy of Chicago, Illinois. What is your hot take about AD heading into his 11th NBA season?
Man, so I want to say he can be MVP, but I know that's not going to happen, even if he's good enough. My hot take, though, is that he's on the first team All-NBA. So that means he's either going to bump off Giannis or Jokic. Right? One of those guys have to go because they're going to be, or Embiid, but I think he's first team All-NBA this year.
God, we would love to see that, man.
We need it.
No. We need it, right? My hot take is going back to our first point. I really think that Anthony Davis is going to refine that touch around the free throw line. If these last two preseason games were encouraging signs of what's to come, I really think we're going to get AD back into the 80%, low 80s at the charity line, which hopefully projects our man back into the high 20s for his average. And once we can combine both of those things, 80s shot, if he's getting to the free throw line more and knocking down these shots, it is less energy expended. It is more free points that we can put on the board. And hopefully, man, it just translates to an overall better flow of how the game goes. There's nothing more demoralizing, to me at least, of any momentum getting cut down by two immediate missed free throws in a row. And there's a few players on the Lakers this season that I'm not as familiar with their free throw shooting percentages, but historically the Lakers have not had good free throw shooting basketball teams. And unfortunately, Anthony Davis is going to need to be one of the best on the roster. I think he was top 3 2 seasons ago as far as free throw percentage on the team. So if we could get back to that while everybody else not, shit in the bed at the free throw line, the Lakers are going to really either extend leads, close gaps, or hopefully, finish out games by knocking down your free throws.
AD needs to average double-digit free throws, man. He needs to knock down 80% of them. If he's getting 10 free throws a game, knocking down 8 of them, that's putting other defensive big men in trouble. That's getting him a lot of easy baskets, time to rest. I mean, that's what you want. That takes him from being, like you said, a 23-point scorer to maybe 27, 28. Hell, maybe even 30.
Right.
I mean, so we need to see it.
Take a page out of the foul merchant Joel Embiid's playbook. Get to the free throw line, AD. It will do dividends for all of us. All right. I think that's going to wrap it up for our first episode of Late Night Lake Show's Fast Break. Again, we appreciate you guys for rocking with us, and hopefully we will see you on the next episode. For my boy Alex and Ricky, we out.
Peace.